So are you a firstborn, a middle child, or an only child? Take a second and just picture your family tree. Let's start this explainer right there, because it turns out your exact rank in the birth order might actually dictate your medical history. Yeah, really. It's a fascinating concept, and it goes way beyond just, personality quirks or who got the most attention growing up.
Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the hard, scientifically backed ways that your family size and sibling dynamics shape your physical and mental well-being for your entire life. From your long-term cardiovascular health all the way down to the literal microbes in your gut, your siblings leave a massive, indelible mark on your biology. Here's our agenda for today. First, we'll look at birth order and heart health. Second, immune system defense. Third, the hygiene hypothesis. Fourth, the cognitive benefits of sibling play. And finally, number 5, lifelong emotional sibling support. All right, section 1, birth order and heart health. We almost always think about heart health in terms of diet and exercise, right? But population data reveals a completely different layer of risk hiding right there in our family dynamics. It's actually kind of shocking to realize that just your birth rank can dictate cardiovascular outcomes. For instance, a massive Swedish observational study looked at data from over 2.6 million adults. That is a huge sample size. They tracked fatal and non-fatal heart problems over a 25-year period for people born between 1932 and 1960, using national registers to see exactly who suffered from cardiovascular events like heart attacks and strokes.
Now, what's incredibly nuanced about this data is the contrast. The study found that firstborns generally have a lower risk of non-fatal cardiovascular events than their younger siblings. But, well, here is the catch. Firstborn men and women actually showed a higher risk of death than their immediate younger siblings. It's wild, right? It's this really complex picture where your risk of just experiencing a heart event differs from your risk of actually dying from one based purely on when you were born.
And it's not just birth order. The overall size of your family really matters too. The data shows that men with 4 or more siblings face a higher risk of heart attack and stroke compared to guys coming from smaller families with just 1 or 2 siblings. Now, to be clear, we absolutely must emphasize that this shows an observational correlation, not direct causation. But it strongly suggests that early life environments, especially those shaped by large families, have a very real, long-term impact on our heart health. Moving right along, Section 2, Siblings and Immune System Defense.
So, shifting from the heart down into the microscopic world. While having a bunch of siblings might raise cardiovascular risks way down the road, older siblings actually act like a powerful shield for your immune system during early childhood. Back in the 1980s, researchers observed something pretty remarkable. Children with older siblings are actually way less likely to get hay fever, asthma, and other atopic diseases. Think of older siblings as early life educators, or let's be totally honest here, germ couriers. They are constantly bringing outside microbes into the house. They literally carry in the exact microscopic data a younger child's body needs to learn how to defend itself. Which brings us to Section 3, the hygiene hypothesis explained. This protective microbial exchange is a really fascinating cornerstone of modern immunology. It attempts to explain why allergies and autoimmune diseases have just skyrocketed since the Industrial Revolution. See, the slightly gross reality of toddlers sharing germs actually trains a younger sibling's immune system not to overreact to totally harmless allergens. The hygiene hypothesis, or the old friends hypothesis, as some people call it, argues that a lack of early childhood exposure to diverse microorganisms leaves our immune system poorly calibrated. So sharing a home with messy siblings provides that absolutely vital early exposure.
And this brilliantly illustrates how all these early life exposures fit together. Things like having siblings or even pets during childhood fit into our broader lifetime exposo. That's basically the sum of all our environmental exposures. And having those siblings around actually protects against severe immune-mediated conditions later in life, like inflammatory bowel diseases. So yeah, your older siblings dragging dirt into the house actively helped build your gut microbiome. All right, Section 4, Cognitive Benefits of Sibling Play. Shifting away from the microscopic stuff and into the brain, it turns out those annoying childhood squabbles and made-up games were actually high-level learning laboratories. In a study looking at preschoolers and toddlers, researchers observed what's called a Vygotskian apprenticeship. Basically, during shared play, the older child acts as the skilled expert, naturally scaffolding the younger child's abilities. And it's totally a two-way street. The younger sibling plays the apprentice, actively pressuring their, let's face it, sometimes bossy older sibling for explanations and getting concrete instructions out of them. This mismatched age dynamic is just incredibly potent for brain development.
These specific mediation strategies directly predict how successful the younger sibling will be at novel tasks. Older siblings naturally focus attention, they amplify meaning, and they regulate the whole process. They even provide what researchers call good-humored negative feedback, which is essentially just affectionate teasing, but it helps the younger child learn without getting super defensive. And surprisingly, researchers found that the highest amount of this cognitive mediation happened in older brother to younger brother pairs, especially when it came to hyping up excitement and providing that blunt, effective feedback.
That leads us right into Section 5, lifelong emotional sibling support.
You know, those childhood play sessions lay the exact groundwork for what usually becomes our longest-lasting relationship over the entire course of our lives. Long after we move out of our childhood homes, siblings generally offer three vital categories of support: emotional, informational, and instrumental. Whether it's a shoulder to cry on, advice on navigating a weird career change, or just someone to help you move a heavy couch, these three pillars strongly correlate with reduced loneliness, lower depression, and greater overall life satisfaction. Fun fact: sister-to-sister pairs actually tend to report receiving the most support overall.
But conversely, when these relationships fracture, the health consequences can actually be pretty severe. Data from the famous Harvard study of adult development showed that highly conflictual sibling relationships can cause real, lifelong psychological harm and stress. In fact, it's wild, but participants who reported having poor relationships with their siblings at age 18 or 19 had a significantly greater likelihood of experiencing major depression and relying on mood-altering drugs by the time they hit age 50.
Synthesizing decades and decades of data, researchers found that the sibling relationship was incredibly predictive of lifelong well-being. It is genuinely stunning to realize that the quality of your relationship with your sibling is often more predictive of your lifelong mental health than your childhood closeness to your parents' divorce, or honestly, even your own career success. It's that impactful.
So we've seen how deeply siblings influence our heart disease risks, how they calibrate our immune systems, construct our cognitive skills, and protect our mental health over decades. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this somewhat provocative thought. Considering the massive biological and emotional impact they have had on exactly who you are today, isn't it time to reach out to your sibling?